Ani shana Msheekehn dishna kas we kan kum don jaba doga nengishna ka de gabat konwa Mozgai Moses gishna kaza nos Alaina gishna kaza ngashe Gavani gishna kaza mishomis nos the nosman Mina Cecilia gishna kaza nokmis nos gasheman Abdeko pane kuidabat mana gaban jabain kuidabata na pane gaban jabain Msheekehn gibishna kanago bama gi majat mishomis chip Msheekehn gishna kajgazo migeze shnakana nanguma babane shi na shwigo geni na shekemma gigo kebne shi mi undo dem. Good morning, everybody. My English name is Randy Trudeau. My Anishinaabe Noswin. My Anishinaabe name is Msheekehn. My father's name is Moses, and my mother's name is Lina. My father's parents are Gabriel and Cecile, and we're from the Eagle clan. That's how I introduce myself. Today we're going to talk a little bit about this sound, this language that I speak of, I was raised up with, and the value of this language that I use today. The importance of using it on a daily basis, the importance of learning it, how to learn it, how fun it is, and I'm going to use that by sharing stories today. I'm going to share a little story about you, about this guy right here. Nama bashna kaza, we gos tik. It's called a birch tree. And we're going to talk a little bit about the birch tree. Anesh epi 10 dogs it mabona, we gos tik. We gos. Panego mabo we gos, even the kajagaza. We used it in many different ways, this birch bark. We harvest it. When do we harvest it? We're going to talk about that. And the many uses of this bark. I'm going to explain a little bit about it. The medicinal purpose of this bark. What else? We'll start off with that. How I na mabawigos. Mandashana gawigos. Wigos mabawe. Mi manda binjing ish nagzit. This is the inside. This is the outside of the bark after it's harvested and pulled out. And then there's many layers of it, bark on a tree. Manda wigos bejik, and you could split it in many times. Here's another one, a little layer of it. I will explain the usages of this bark as we go along. But I want to share a little story with you about this birch tree. This tree used to be white, like I have a stick here. It's not a tree, but it's a stick. And imagine this was all white one time. Kenegi mem to go cock. Bati no gandak tigok. Kena we watch kazo kan dak tigok. We was kishna kaza. We was kena ga mampigo bejik. Te magat. Kishna kade ko. Nash tash. Chishash go na nango kishna kajgazet. Nana bush. Kishna kaza. It bat chagazet. Ashwe buk mandat pi. Nash gi yauk. Nibnagi yauk mem tigok wesink. Na it's not good maba na S button kishna kaza maba. I'm gonna use this animal as what it looks like manda dengwang. This S button is a raccoon. Gibati nokshkandak. There were a lot of raccoons. S banak. Kujing memtugo kegidam niyo. They were outside playing in the forest. Nash gidam no gandak. Ishna kadek. Ngat kiss. Hiding go seek. Nishmaba esban ek that kina kamanjid me. We all play here. And Msheekehn abu we gos. This birch tree. You know, in the forest, he's standing there. Zinche, he's listening to the little raccoons. Keni gundadamen, gadamen geni gikidamaba we gos. I would like to play too, said the birch bark, the birch tree. Mishgina what? Esbanak. Kaimam da widam nig. Ni nagot ko ni dam na me. Kanama ngat konozi me ngat kiz mesh odesh pimming. I'm sorry, you can't play with us, said the raccoons to the birch trees. We might be able to hide on you though. Mirish ishkadzit mabawigwas. Now how? Nanabush showed up and said, I would like to play too. Kenigon dataman gikidamaba Nanabush. Mirish nam. So Nanabush was told, okay, you're gonna be it, Nanabush. So you're gonna go over there. Kagen das, cause gonna go up. You have to count and close your eyes. Das wek again, das. You count to 10. Midash jo ut kizyang, and we will go hide. Ikidok, said the raccoons. So they ran. Midash maba, we go stick. They could feel the raccoons climbing on them. Gegwa, gegwa jindabishake. Nisan den. Shkena be kayak kida dishmaba esban. Kashmaba gip shigen zin we wasmtik. Mishgide penat nen esbanan. Mandishgindo dod nicking. The raccoons climbed up the tree, and the birch tree said, can you please climb down, get off of me? And the raccoon said, shh, Shkena, please, bekayak. Let's be quiet. We're hiding on you. And the birch tree didn't like that. So he grabbed the raccoons by the tail and he started shaking them. Mirish, they started crying. Mishki maja muat gandak esbanak, chamuyok. Big zog, narabosh, kidok, muyok. Mishke maba gibson shet, nanabush. Mishki majib tot. Mishki what matnan then. So the raccoons were being banged around and they started yelling and screaming for Nanabush to come and help them. So Nanabush had heard this and he started running towards the sounds. Midishki what matnan dan we was abchugi nagan esbanan papang de bedok tegong mishki dapnat tegonsan tegonsi na casa mishki pashat nen we was I pashat nen skobim negons ina kazan skobim negons ina kazan I pashat nen mish maba we was ki bije benat nen esbanan mish gin de go jot takmek mish gi bang de besh not ne king shige og esbanak pas gon go psel go ya buik so Nanabush ran over there and he saw what the tree was doing. So he grabbed a stick of red willow, and he started spanking the birch tree. And the birch tree felt this, and he decided to drop the raccoons, let them go. And the raccoons went down and they hit their heads on the ground, and they had to shake their head to knock that dizziness away, I guess. And Mirishna Mawa Nanabushki Ganu not Nan we was thick. Anish Ganagegi and Gin Kinan. What is wrong with you? He said to the birch tree. And the birch tree was given a chance to explain himself. Abjugogeni Dagidamen Kashkondak Wesi Gigabit Negosik Widamnea Geni Mish Dach Gichkegok Mish Gidepen Go Mish Giap Gipashejin Migibit Nego. So Nanabush had spoken to the trees and asked them what was wrong with you guys to do this to these little animals. And the birch tree says we were upset and angry because these animals wouldn't allow us to play with them. And we let them go after you had spanked us with the red willow. Ahaw, Jaja keeps in don, Kikidashmaba Nanabush. Okay, I've already listened to your explanation. Kegush Kowin Mon Gikidamaba Nanabush. Nongwa, Panega Nongwa. Piwi Goas, Gujawop Mat. From now on, the Uyghurs, you could see the marks on the Uyghurs, these little marks. These are indications of where Uyghurs was spanked. And sometimes there was a scab there, a wound, because of what he had done to the animals. He says, from now on, you will be different than all the other trees. So he was given different responsibilities in the forest, this birch tree. And when we harvest birch bark in the forest, we use the outside part. It is often said the outside part in this area was used to make a wigwam. Wigwam, a yak around wigwam was made. The inside part, there's a few layers of the inside part. and it's very thin, and it's brown on both sides, and you can see still the marks of where the birch tree had been spanked. We use this to write our stories, to indicate we have some sort of an agreement with maybe a different tribe, and biting it, you create an image on here. So a lot of the scrolls were made through biting. And you can fold this in many different ways to make patterns, or you can fold it just twice to make a design. I've made a turtle a number of times. Now the outer one, inner one, is used to make canoes, or even the full sheet, and is used to make canoes in which we travel with on our rivers with. Non chigwe gosh goma ba we was gigaza when up it is. And this birch tree was told that there will be many different uses of him. Panege kugabit nak wesink we boniat jende yain tigum. Minash mabu wesink. And I have a birch tree in the background here. I don't know if you could see that. There's a birch tree there. I have it in the background. And there's a deer right there. And there's a hawk up there. And a little bit higher, there's a nest up there. And Nanabush had told the birch tree, from now on, you're going to allow animals to make a home on you, a nest for birds. And there's going to be many different uses for you. And then we have different purposes and different thicknesses of birch bark. God, the different sizes and the different trees. And I'm just ich bin go nonch chip zit mabo we gos tick. Nonch go na jo we gos na. As the tree gets older, when you want to harvest it, the bark is thicker, the bark is much richer, and there's less of these marks on them. Also, I wanted to share one of the things. When you go in the forest, in the birch forest, and you see this birch tree, and then usually on the north side, you'll see this dark piece, and oftentimes you'll see chaga growing on those pieces, on that side. And this is medicine, this chaga. It's been used for thousands of years, this chaga. And some come in small pieces. So this one's about, about the size of my hand, roughly about 10 years old to get that big. Mabashge megoch, about 50 years old it takes to get this big. So there's different sizes. And it takes a long time for the chaga to get to that size. So when we harvest it, we have to be very careful when we harvest it. Mishmabog akidet nanabush, yid one, and then we go tigon. Nam Pimabu we sin the bishat. Kanag den mama, minam ishin bema zit bishat. Kagabit na. Msheekehn. Kui Msheekehn yo, inan tigon. Manam Msheekehn awad. Kui Msheekehn yo dash. Kagabit nashma ba bema zit. We badap not nandan pi. Gobong sweat goma ba. Abdek magazam tegong gubong ko gizis shnaka de wepi magazit maba ab degge qui kom dan wepi ab jugo wisga ksena wepi pistash kchaksenak mi maba pi magazit Guy Skinokmek, Guy Ni Bing, Guy Dgogik, Guy Squani Nibanamang, Ab Dego Makogizis, Kchiksanakpi, Abdek Squikom Dan, and Sigi Gaga Quikom Dan, Pikchiksana, Misa Pinja Che Kakoman, Midish Maban Jabananat. Anish Enje Buk, Anish Enje Kidanga, Anish Ganja Kidat Owe, Mabaga Chicken Lasset, Shkeke, Kanagdendang. Mandasa, pi magazit mabam tigong. Pashkugna gegi ne. Magi mabawe, magi. Ge gugi shebzaba maba wigos. Mish manda bazaki mugakashe. So many thousands of years ago was said that when you harvest chaga from the birch tree, it is said that this is going to grow and to be medicine. And Nanabush had said, when a man comes to you, he will come to you in the winter. And that is the only time he will harvest his medicine is in the winter. And it cannot be after what is known today after Christmas or after New Year's or in March break. It must be in what we call today February. It must be in the coldest week of February. A lot of people will say, how do we know when it's cold? Well, you have to watch. You have to watch the weather pattern and everything. That is the only time we can harvest this. You cannot harvest it in the spring, summer, fall, any other time. You have about 1 week. You have about 7 days to harvest this in February. Almost the same time when the bear, where's my bear? Almost the same time the bear in the cave rolls over. The bear in February, that's why it's called Mokwagizis. In February, rolls over. The mama bear. Don't care about the papa bear. The mama bear rolls over because that's the time that she rolls over to feed her little cubs. So we have to watch for the coldest weather. And there's a special way of taking this out. Many people will get a knife and they pry it out. That's a guy mom do it. Guy mom do Msheekehn. Because it's so cold, you can use a hatchet, a rock today, and then if you strike it 3 or 4 times, it'll fall off. You have to remember, the chaga is like a scab, like when we get a scab. You peel it off and then you just keep damaging that skin. So if we do the same thing with the birch tree and we pry at it, imagine that tree. Ayo, you're hurting me. Madzema bumtik. Abdekshko kuinanag den dan whippy. Minash pik chiksenak whippy. Mije wikina. Mije kina wimshkike pidek. Into the birch tree. Mi wiga kidot kchinish na beg whippy. And that's what had been said for many years, is that's how we harvest this medicine and how we benefit from this birch tree. So now when we go in the forest, you will see one of my friends here. Esaban mabash nakaza, esaban. honey espen, honey. Nadash. When the Uyghurs had the raccoons going like this way, and then he dropped them like this way. When he had the twigs wrapped around, it is said that's why the raccoon has stripes around its tail. And then when it fell down, that's why it has black eyes now. See that? So that's how the raccoon got its stripes on its tail and its cool looking black eyes. He was part of that teaching of the birch tree. And then today, when you go for a walk in the birch forest, you are sure to find a ton of red willow growing beside the birch trees. A lot of times people will say the red willow will grow in swampy areas and all of this. Yes, it's true, but it'll also grow in the birch forest. And it is said that in creation, it's a reminder for that birch tree of what happened to him when he didn't allow the other living things. And that's what happened. So when we see this, also the red willow today has become medicine also because of the birch tree. Shkiki kaza maba wigos geish gomaba squabim nigons kaza maba. This is the red willow, and that's what it's called. Squabim nigons. So red willow is like taking aspirin. Shkike awe or midisha enjab na debat tamananga maba wigos tik e pichi maba wigos tik. Yabugo nonch je binjib de wigos tigon. O the chigiet nung mampige gine ebinjabang na minedo minising na ando na minatgok na ashje ndendena na bish na jitga deje bi ziagmede ma bishge wigos tiko de giet nung niking migoge na sap en ejna kajga zada. Here in Minido Manis, on Odawa Manis, Manitoulin Island, we have maple trees, and we use this maple tree for syrup, maple syrup. In the north, way up north, we don't have maple trees. They have birch trees. So they use the same purpose. It's the same way we use maple, as they make syrup out of that maple tree. So the many uses of the birch tree, and that is the story it's been shared with for thousands of years on why it's become one of our most important trees. So just a reminder, when we go in the forest and you see these things called chaga, remember, in February is the only time you should harvest them. Respect the other living things in the forest, and they respect us, and they heal us in that healing aspect. The more we respect the healing medicine in our forests, and we get better, we get well. I wanted to share that. So one other thing I wanted to talk about. Na mabash na kaza. Where the bachmak. Sheeb nagash. as this one here. Sometimes when you're out in the birch forest, there's a number of birch forests that I go to, and I will find this there. Another one that's medicine. I think in English, and those that are listening can correct me if I'm wrong. I think they call this in English scouring rush. One of our medicines that is near the birch forest, and usually go up north, and they get very tall, and they're abundant. Up just gonna shin, mandanam, can't mean, kasha madzod gay nako, chashash guba, nishnabeg, be madzijik. Batinat mshkeke memtugoke. Up just go batinat. Ich bin akazuin. Mi got go that gejaingaba memtugoke. Mi show the gendin ming mandanam shkike. Nangad batan bangi. Gusen ginbo gubunagak. Kana way guga gabajebsian. Gim jimendan go kana way go gabajebsian gabudu dagon. Gasha wiskinesian. Kagnagni ge go ausno. Ma bashgina chak gusen. Zay got kamixana. Gasha wisgaton. Momping is Ganesh da Kenongo Joga. Kenonga Jongi Wisagato. Minash Gyab Jinjiga. Panego and Sonakshik Abdego Gi Munu. Mi Goega Picha Wisganesia Gina Chuk Mabunguis. Mish Nanag Denma. Anish Idigesh Chigeamba. We none dwedzia. Ginendam. Nanag den damskog bein. Mi dishgam jimen ma manda. Chashash gobo mandangin magonaba. Manda gadbatta mananga. Gonna check out orders ginendam memtugoke. Mishgop kaligishian. Mi dishgonna go abjanakian. Ma den ma rep squeak den ma mio de ejam memtroke mshkiki kadek mishgo do nando e gonchgoe ich bin man da bosch geamba kai gongi kenzin da gishnades go me gochko da gishnades non godesh Misha Jungubun Gok Giatin Gina Godon Manda Gete Nishnabe Kidwin Ishquem Booking Giatin Kanagdendas Kash Kuis Genesi Nijabunagok Sabunagok Gubunagok Gwedgo Kanagden Dalmanda Mijis Jigabit Natwa Ganachet Misagash Chigan Kach Gobongi Lajia Ab just go mami kwendam. E pichi mgok memtu ke bayang. Zabshki ki kade o de kene o. Nash pjinak da mujo endan. Mi manda misho mes minan nos kakano mojit. Da nok mistash. Unesh ke kakano mojit and then the muinan dwedzia. Being sakabaya. Mi eshna kazin. You get about a good thing. She can't get a cast being of the co option the Kendan wet be. G Manish Kumbos Maga and Bebamatka. Me the shea Skikika dego being young. I share a story last year I lost my son, Ross. And it's just been a year last week since I lost him. And I have been through a lot of trauma in my life and heartache and, just really rough. And I've had a lot of deaths. My father died a year before my son, my best friend before that, and my aunt, my uncle, and so on and so on. It's just, it was a lot of pain for a lot of years. But when I lost my son, none of that compares to losing your own child. And the pain was so enormous, I didn't know how I was going to function, how I did not know anything. How am I going to get through this? The pain is not even comparable to all the losses that I've had in my life. And I thought at some times um, it was just so much. I did not know what to do. And I remembered my father and my grandfather had talked about this story. And this story took me to the forest, to the bush. And I went to the bush. I went to the wilderness where there is healing. And that's what we forget so many times to do, is that we run to treatment centers, we run to health centers, we run to counselors. One of the best counselor that's been here for me this past year is Msheekehn, our Mother Earth, and Gjemnido, our Creator. Those are the best counselors I've had in the greatest loss of my life. And being with these medicines, some people say these are legends. I just call them old stories that have been passed on. I shared with my sons, and now today I'm sharing with my grandson. And they're healing. They're very healing. And then while I'm out there, I have this little device, and it's called a cell phone. But what I love about this thing is the camera. So I record a lot of stuff when I'm out in the wilderness. And I record some of the things that I'm speaking of today. And we have to remember all the time that when we are in traumas or in pain and hurt, we go to the forest. And just to give a little glimpse of what I am able to do, I share through the camera lens. So, and I spoke about this on the opening night, that how powerful this camera is, the lenses, how powerful it is in the sense that it can also heal us. I've come to understand that television, that cameras also play some sort of part in healing. Zanatesh Jagan is the name of the camera, Zanatesh Jagan, because it takes a pictures or a video. In this past year, I've been watching a lot of videos, YouTube videos, when I am unable, usually in the evening at nighttime, which was the hardest for me this past year, which is when lots of tears came, to the videos on YouTube that documented nature in different parts of the world, not just my part. And how healing that was just to watch that. And then to remind me to go outside the next day and capture the feeling of healing in the forest. Because just watching it is only a reminder what you need to do. It's not super healing, or it's not healing just sitting there watching it. For me, it's just a reminder. So in order to go and feel that, I have to go out in the wilderness. I have to go outside and actually immerse myself in the wilderness with the wigos tigok, with the trees, with the birch trees, with the red willow, with the scouring rush, with all the many plants that we have in our forests. Well, I am looking at the time, and very close to the ending of this teaching, this lesson, this story, in that we have shared for generations. Esban Dishmabash Nakaza. This raccoon is called the Esban. Esban Jige. That's what he does. He picks up everything in the forest. He cleans. He's almost like the janitor of the forest. He cleans up whatever little pieces are left behind by the other little critters. Esbanjige. Esbanjige. Gigoka. Wisnea. Dopwinning. Make sure you eat everything that's on your plate, and don't be wasteful. So the raccoon is not a very wasteful animal. Yes, and I think that is my story for the birch tree, the birch bark, the raccoon, the red willow, the chaga, and the many uses. I wanted to also share that Anishinaabe, Pinishinaabe Mia, Msheekehn Awenwe, Panesh Gog Gwyn Moak, Oshank, Duknumok, Gay no, we Abjanishinaabe Mo. Minji dik wajeb de gwen den damko, Minash the Nako Oshank. Kai Giken zi wajebok. Na nag den magana no sabagak dat gay. Ishbim shkiki awung manda Nishnaabe moin. Ishbin shnakazi en sigishgak. Kudu nandwe gun manda shun da binjing. Minashin dog queenindip. Do nandwe gun manda. Mi e pichi muguk manda. Minenda august Panen Nishnaabe mia. Ab jugus nugget Winishnabe mung. Kida mabung Wijinishnabe. Shnabe kwe mage Nishnaabe nine. Ab jugus nugget kidok. Ich bin wigo abjetain. Abjibzin chain. Abjanakazi. Then I went panat manda pina masay. Minash kam nashi ya binjing. Mi mande e pichi mgok Nishnaabe mun. Do abjin chiasko. Not good nunga. Ek no mage jik manda Nishnaabe mun. Ge gugana jikidok. Dashin sastan geni. Kidwinan. Anish mande jikidang de go geko. Kaite son wikidwin de noctish. Dashito nani na bejik de godish. Ich bin enen mene wishito in bejik na ha jiton. Nin shwigo geni. kine eken ma kidwinan mi geni got goje kuken ma jino gungi kinoma go manda kidwin pashkogna manda gig don biap kons mandishne kade gai mandigi te so gai manda nos gi azin gi bagai chi mi gai misho misi azin manda jino shkomanda kidwin shkik kidwin aw mam kade ndam shkokko Chwesh gade non shwigo nungo kidwanen ich binch nangje ne manda winish na be min Mano jem shkiki kadana ishenesh tone shkik kidwin abdekshe shkik katon kidwin pikno mage ke go get ga jito ke kidwin ishpin go jem shkiki kade ka misgo nishinwe mam kade ndam go epichi mogak manda enwing bati no ke kan bangi enwayat gadan sasta de shwigo ekdin koy ab jitta nash abdek manda pane bashkugna nungo ni bine jink nungo kagasuk kan chigazo pakchiraj goba anish keshen nan duain kandak emustot manda mi got nishna bem toin ke gani na kinashto na ume we boy annoying manda me go annoying ke go kit ke go na kasga kana kasina ki go me kashmam da geni ga ingi shitosin abde go we no ya amanda mi geni ga jabu ya kenen ne mana dak ga baje bak e ko gaichiya nishnabe mun gi jabu in go mi geni ga na ga shkiton mi jinda nango enjinani bo for many years I have shared a philosophy that my father had shared is that when we speak our language is very powerful. It has a lot of healing aspects to it. And the language is alive. And the only way we can learn this language is if we listen to it, we immerse ourselves in it, and we speak it, and that we don't give up on it. Sometimes we feel ridiculed, laughed at when we try to speak the language, and that's okay. It's hard to learn this language, but if you work at it, just like anything else, you'll feel very powerful because the language is all medicine, and the language is alive. Many times I have language instructors, language people calling me, and they ask me, how do you say this? Or how do you spell this? And I say, well, there's no word for that. And I don't know how to spell it because these alphabets we have, they're not ours, they're not mine. So I try not to use these alphabets. Instead, I use the syllabics or the pictographs, which was our ancestral way of writing our language. And when you want to learn it, it's so easy sometimes. It is so easy. For example, I have a knife here. Okay, this knife is called mokaman. Mokuman. Just a Mokuman. So a lot of people say Mokuman, Mokuman, then they forget. The way to remember it, and I shared it with my kids when they were little, I says, when you see a Mokuman, think of Pokemon. You know, they love that. So put relationships with some of the words that you're trying to learn, and they remember, okay, how do I say Pokemon? Pokemon, Pokemon. Okay, Pokemon. It's very easy to learn the language. I always say that to everybody. It's very easy, but some people say it's so hard, Randy. It's so hard. And I keep saying this, it's easy. When you have, I guess what I have is passion for our language. If you're passionate for something, it's easy. If you're passionate for walking in the forest, it becomes easy. There'll be times where we can walk, and we don't have what is called a compass. You don't get lost because it's become an art. It's become easy. Menendaugut. It's fun. Menendaugut. All right, I think I would like to save some time for, I guess, questions or. Nanabush. Someone had asked about Nanabush, and Nanabush was described as a trickster many years ago. Nanabush was a man that so many times often compared in colonized world as Jesus. Nanabush was not like that. Nanabush was a man that was given the ability to help other living things that the Creator had put on the earth. And many times he played around with all the living things on the earth to teach them a lesson, to teach them their role on Shkakmakwe, on Mother Earth. So that's who Nanabush was. He was, I guess, the assistant to Shkakmakwe. He was the assistant to Mother Earth, and he was an assistant to Gjemnedo, our creator. Is there any other questions? Yeah, the birch tree also is tapped like a maple tree to take the water out of the tree and turn it into syrup. Can you preserve chaga throughout the year after you've harvested? This one I harvested about 3 years ago. I keep it in a cool, dry place. One of the teachings that I got is that when you collect the chaga, it should at least sit in a dry place for 13 moons, maybe even a year and a half before you use it. You have to let it dry. So very often times I'll collect and keep about 50 to 100 pounds of chaga stored. And if the supply dwindles as a result of trading with other people that need it, I go the following winter and make sure I have a good supply. So I have a good supply um, ready for people to use, and you just got to keep it in a cool, dry place. Does the Anishinaabe have representation involving numbers? Absolutely. Example would be my name, and sadly, we only got 2 minutes. There are 13, 7, they're not on this side, but there's 13, 4, and 7 on a turtle. And perhaps I can put that online in future for future dates and explain the symbolism with the numbers in our Anishinaabe Emun, in our Anishinaabe Adzuin. Absolutely, we do have numbers in our lifestyle, in our culture, in our heritage. Nam ngakit kchimi gwech ngakit kinugabzin chechik. Thank you very much to all those that listened. If you need to get a hold of me, I think the link to Wingish Film Institute has all my information. Contact them and they will share with you email, address, cell number, all that goody stuff. But I'll say again, Chimigwech, to all those that listen today. I enjoy sharing some of our knowledge to many different people, not just Anishinaabe, but everybody on the planet. I like to share that too. And yes, thank you. Miigwech.